The Garvek Empire had ruled the spiral arm for centuries, stretching their tendrils of control across dozens of star systems. Their fleets were legendary, a combination of massive dreadnoughts, agile cruisers, and swarming fighter wings that could annihilate entire planetary defenses in a matter of hours. Every vessel carried the weight of their society's pride, weapons that could reduce continents to molten slag, shields that repelled the deadliest energies, and war engines infused with genetic and cybernetic enhancements to make their crews faster, stronger, and deadlier than any known life form. Imperial officers trained for decades, yet few had ever commanded a fleet of such scale. Fleet commanders were revered as gods in the eyes of their subordinates, their strategies studied, codified, and repeated as unerring doctrines. The Empire had never lost a war, never surrendered a colony, and never faced an opponent they could not annihilate. Every species that had dared challenge them was reduced to legends of defeat, entire civilizations erased in a single campaign, their homeworlds burned, their fleets obliterated. To the Garvek, victory was absolute, and fear was something they imposed on others, never felt themselves. And yet, that certainty would be shattered in an instant. The first anomaly appeared as a faint ripple on long-range sensors of the flagship dreadnought Imperator. At first, it was dismissed cosmic radiation, sensor interference, or some unexplored void phenomenon. But as the signal intensified, officers ran repeated scans, each more detailed than the last, and the truth became unavoidable. Something massive, deliberate, and alive was moving through their territory at impossible velocity. Fleet Commander Axila, known across the Empire for his cold logic and unflinching command, felt a chill he had never known. His claws clenched over the console as he demanded, "All arrays, focus. Identify that object. I want hull composition, propulsion, armaments, anything." The lieutenant at the sensor station typed furiously, her antenna twitching nervously. "Sir, hull material is unknown. Propulsion system does not match any Garvek or allied technology. Weapons signatures, extremely high energy, but undetectable. And velocity, sir, it's accelerating in ways that defy known physics." Siler's mandibles clicked in disbelief. "Are you suggesting it is intelligent?" "Yes, sir. It behaves with intent. Calculated, precise, and predictive." The bridge fell silent. Across the view screens, a shape began to resolve from the void. Massive, angular, yet with an eerie fluidity, a human warship emerged. Its dark hull shimmered in the starlight like a living organism, reflecting patterns of light that no sensor could parse or classify. It moved as if the vacuum itself yielded to its will, pivoting smoothly, deploying smaller craft in formations that instantly encircled the Garvek vanguard with flawless geometry. Gunships, fighters, and dropships unfolded in a silent, deadly ballet, each vessel in perfect position to strike. The Garvek officers whispered among themselves, their voices trembling. No species in recorded history had ever displayed such mastery. The humans were not merely a fleet, they were an embodiment of precision, discipline, and raw adaptability. And they were alone. Fleet Commander Scylla struggled to maintain composure. One ship, one single vessel. How is this possible? It's enormous, yet faster than anything in our fleet. And those hangar deployments, they're coordinated. The humans did not hail the Garvek. They offered no message of warning, no diplomatic approach. Instead, the Horizon Breaker and its fleet of smaller craft assumed positions of dominance. Sensors recorded the humans' weapon arrays powering up, their rail cannons charging with silent menace, their plasma emitters pulsing faintly as though alive. Every movement, every maneuver suggested intelligence far beyond the calculations of the Garvek fleet. From the bridge of the dreadnought Imperator, Xyla barked orders with an authority that usually galvanized fleets. Target the intruder. Fire at will. Concentrate every weapon array. But it was futile. The human ships did not respond as the Garvek expected. Gunships weaved effortlessly between energy beams, deploying Marines who instantly neutralized target points with preternatural coordination. Rail fire carved through frigates before shields could respond. Every attempted countermeasure was anticipated and countered before it could be executed. Sila's eyes widened in disbelief. He had commanded campaigns across multiple sectors. He had faced fleets with hundreds of ships, more powerful than any human vessel should have been capable of withstanding. And yet, here, before his sensors and his fleet, a single human warship was not just surviving, it was dominating. Officers began to whisper, voices trembling. They are predicting us. No fleet can coordinate this flawlessly. Are the legends real? The human fleet did not speak, and yet their intent was undeniable. Every deployment of Marines, every sweep of gunships, every charge of the Horizon Breaker's main cannon radiated authority. The aliens realized in horror that this was not an attack in the conventional sense. This was a display of control, skill, and lethal precision. Fleet Commander Isla's mandibles clicked nervously. The humans, they are not just fighting. They are teaching. Every move we make, every tactic we try, they anticipate. They adapt instantly. They dominate. Across the view screens, the human dropships began lowering squads of Marines onto nearby asteroids, debris fields, and drifting Imperial vessels. Exosuits gleamed faintly under starlight as soldiers moved with lethal precision, targeting weak points, systems, and personnel with surgical intent. A single human squad could disable a cruiser in minutes, and yet multiple squads acted in perfect unison. The Garvek could not comprehend it. The horror spread beyond the bridge. Across the fleet, crews were paralyzed, their instincts screaming that they had never faced anything like this. They had conquered species, dominated civilizations, and crushed entire systems. And yet now, against a single human warship and its supporting craft, their centuries of pride, strategy, and skill were meaningless. Sila's voice finally broke the silence, low, trembling, almost a whisper. These humans, they are impossible. The Horizon Breaker hovered, silent and deliberate, watching the alien fleet like a predator assessing its prey. Gunships shifted position, dropships moved in anticipation, and the void itself seemed to bend around them, a subtle distortion of space and light that no sensor could explain. The Garvek realized, too late, that they were not merely witnessing the arrival of a new species, they were witnessing the birth of a legend. For the first time in the history of the Garvek Empire, fear coursed through their veins, not fear of death, not fear of loss, but fear of a species that could not be predicted, controlled, or dominated. The humans had arrived, and the galaxy would never be the same. The legends of Deathworlders were real, and the aliens, trained to dominate and conquer, could only watch in horror as humans prepared to engage in battle. The quiet before the storm had ended. The storm itself had arrived. The humans did not hesitate. The moment their presence was fully recognized, the Horizon Breaker released its first wave of gunships. They moved with a fluid grace, weaving between plasma bolts and rail fire as if they were extensions of the void itself. Their weapons fired with exacting precision. Each shot was calculated, each trajectory perfect, striking Garvek frigates and destroyers with surgical accuracy. Explosions blossomed silently in the vacuum, leaving fragments of once mighty ships drifting like the petals of a deadly flower. Dropships followed, plunging toward the Empire's larger vessels. Marines in armored exosuits disembarked, their movements almost choreographed. They advanced across decks faster than any Garvek training could account for, neutralizing weapon systems, disabling communication arrays, and incapacitating bridge crews with terrifying efficiency. Within minutes, the Garvek fleet found its largest warships incapacitated, not by overwhelming firepower, but by human precision, adaptability, and lethal instinct. Fleet Commander Uxila's voice trembled over the bridge comms. "Concentrate fire. Target the humans. This is impossible. They are predicting our maneuvers." But the humans anticipated every move. Gunships dodged salvos. Marines advanced in perfect synchronization, and the horizon breaker itself rotated, deploying new fighters and adjusting energy shields with calculated calm. Each attack by the Garvek fleet was countered almost before it could be executed. The humans' mastery of the battlefield was instantaneous, as if they were born understanding the flow of combat. A Garvek dreadnought attempted a flanking maneuver, surging forward to overwhelm the human vanguard. Rail cannons flared, slicing through smaller craft in a show of power, yet the humans did not falter. Their gunships intercepted the dreadnought's advance, tearing apart its shields and exposing critical systems. Marines dropped into its corridors moments later, moving through the ship like shadows, disabling turrets and cutting communication lines. Within seconds, the dreadnought was paralyzed, its crew stunned and leaderless. Over comms, Captain Alethea Grayson's calm voice carried a warning that shook the Empire to its core. "Garvek fleet, identify your intentions and withdraw. Compliance will prevent unnecessary casualties." The Garvek froze. They had never been spoken to with such authority by a species they could not comprehend. They had never faced an enemy that acted faster, more intelligently, and more decisively than their own fleet. And now, they were being given a warning they could not ignore. The humans' assault continued. Gunships danced among the debris of destroyed vessels, clearing isolated Garvek cruisers. Dropships continued their lethal descent onto capital ships. Marines, operating in near-perfect coordination, struck at energy nodes and command centers, neutralizing entire sections of vessels before the Garvek could even react. For the first time, the Empire witnessed a species that did not merely fight, they dominated. The humans' efficiency, their anticipation, and their lethal precision rendered the Garvek's centuries of military doctrine irrelevant. Commanders could only watch in horrified awe as their fleets, once the apex of galactic power, were dismantled piece by piece. Fleet Commander Asila's voice was barely audible, trembling as he muttered to his aides. They are not just fighting, they are predators. They anticipate our every action. Every strike is calculated. Every move inevitable. The first strike of the humans had ended, not with fanfare, not with destruction for its own sake, but with a demonstration. Humans were a force that could not be underestimated, a predator species whose mastery of war defied all known science and military doctrine. The void grew still, save for the hum of human engines. And for the Garvek, for the first time in their long and bloody history, horror had taken root. Their centuries of dominance, their invincible fleets, their unquestioned supremacy, all had been shown to be mortal in the presence of humanity. The first strike was only the beginning. The battle had begun, and the humans were in full command. The Garvek fleet tried to reorganize, but every attempt was anticipated and countered with terrifying efficiency. The humans moved like a single, coordinated organism, their gunships weaving through volleys of plasma and rail fire as though the void itself bent to their will. Dropships descended onto warships with surgical precision, depositing Marines who spread like shadows through corridors and control centers. Within moments, entire dreadnoughts were crippled, their weapons neutralized, their command crews incapacitated, and their defensive systems offline. A Garvek bio-titan, a colossal war beast genetically engineered for combat, lumbered forward with psychic screams designed to disrupt sensors and intimidate foes. Its very presence sent shudders through the remaining Garvek fleet. A single human Marine stepped forward from a dropship, weapon raised, and fired at the Titan's neural nodes. The Titan faltered, then collapsed, its fall crushing several escort frigates beneath its bulk. Another Titan advanced. Another Marine engaged. Another Titan fell. One by one, the Empire's most formidable creations were reduced by humans with lethal instinct and unerring precision. Fleet Commander Axila's claws shook as he barked futile orders. Concentrate fire. Surround them. Focus all units. Do not, his voice cracked. Nothing worked. Each tactic, every strategy they had perfected over centuries was rendered obsolete. The humans anticipated every move before it happened. They adapted instantly, countering the Empire's best maneuvers with fluid, unrelenting efficiency. Every weapon fired at the humans missed or was intercepted. Gunships darted in unpredictable patterns, plasma bolts intercepted by tiny energy shields. Marines neutralized bridge officers before orders could be issued. Rail cannons destroyed Garvek cruisers with pinpoint accuracy, while human craft moved among debris and wreckage, leaving no vulnerability unexploited. The humans were not just fighters, they were predators, survivors of death worlds where failure meant instant extinction. They were hunters, tacticians, and warriors forged in environments designed to kill anything weaker than themselves. And in the vast emptiness of space, among fleets that considered themselves invincible, they were unstoppable. Sensors aboard the Garvek dreadnoughts were overwhelmed. Calculations failed. Algorithms designed to predict enemy behavior crashed in the face of the humans' unpredictable yet perfectly coordinated tactics. Every officer aboard the dreadnought Imperator realized a horrifying truth. They were witnessing not a battle, but a demonstration of human mastery. The Horizon Breaker rotated smoothly, repositioning its gunships and dropships with calculated calm. Its Marines continued to neutralize Garvek vessels, moving through corridors and disabling critical systems in seconds. The humans' presence alone was a weapon. The Garvek fleet, though numerically superior, had no ability to recover. Morale collapsed as dreadnoughts drifted inert, and commanders realized that centuries of doctrine and training could not save them from this alien predator. Fleet Commander Axila whispered to his aide, voice trembling with disbelief, They are inevitable. Every strategy we have fails before them. They are perfection in motion. They are humans. The impossible battle raged on, a silent demonstration of mastery and dominance. Gunships flared, Marines moved, and the Horizon Breaker remained calm, deliberate, and untouchable. For the first time in its history, the Garvek Empire realized that it was not just losing a battle, it was facing a species whose very existence redefined power in the galaxy. Minutes into the engagement, the Garvek fleet was a fractured shadow of its former might. Ships drifted helplessly, crippled by human precision and ingenuity. Bridges were dark, weapons offline, crews disoriented or dead. Entire squadrons that had once inspired terror across the galaxy were reduced to wreckage. Not a single human vessel had been lost. Not a single Marine had faltered. The humans had turned the battlefield into a testament of their lethal efficiency and adaptability. Dropships continued their precision strikes, deploying squads of Marines who neutralized key systems aboard Imperial dreadnoughts. Gunships darted among the debris, intercepting stragglers, striking isolated vessels with surgical exactness. Rail cannons tore through heavy hulls, leaving them as drifting husks, while the humans maintained perfect formation and coordination. Every attack was measured, calculated, and devastatingly effective. From the bridge of the dreadnought Imperator, Fleet Commander Islar's voice trembled as he issued orders that would have been routine in any previous engagement. Fall back, regroup, concentrate, fire. But his commands were meaningless. Every maneuver, every attempt to regain control was anticipated and countered. The humans had rewritten the rules of combat in real time. Across the fleet, officers whispered in disbelief. They anticipated everything. No fleet can survive this. They are not like anything we faced. Even the bravest warriors felt the icy grip of fear, realizing that centuries of Garvek dominance were irrelevant in the face of human mastery. And yet, the humans did not gloat. They did not overextend or strike unnecessarily. Their assault was deliberate, precise, and controlled. The Horizon Breaker pivoted, gathering its forces, withdrawing Marines, and maintaining a calm, commanding presence. It was a display not of destruction for its own sake, but of undeniable superiority. Across the galaxy, in distant sectors, observing the battle via deep space relays, fleets and civilizations watched in awe. The humans were not myths. They were predators, deathworlders whose survival instincts had been honed into the ultimate combat skill. They could adapt, anticipate, and dominate in ways that no technology or strategy could counter. Fleet Commander Isila slumped in his command chair, mandibles trembling. We underestimated them. Entire doctrines, fleet centuries of dominance, all meaningless. This species, they are unstoppable. The humans' first engagement with the Garvek fleet had ended, but the lessons lingered like a ghost across the stars. One warship, one coordinated assault had left an empire shattered not by numbers, but by efficiency, skill, and raw mastery. The Garvek realized that humanity had not merely arrived in the galaxy, they had announced themselves as a force that could not be ignored. The void grew silent, save for the hum of human engines. The Garvek, though still alive, were broken in spirit. Every surviving crew member, every officer, every fleet commander understood the same horrifying truth. The humans were predators, born of worlds that could kill and forged to dominate. They were deathworlders, and the galaxy would never be the same. The battle was over, but the legend had begun, and the Garvek, and every species watching, would tremble at the memory of the day humans went to war. The Horizon Breaker and its accompanying craft began to withdraw with deliberate calm. There was no fanfare, No victory display, only the quiet, unyielding authority of a species that had just demonstrated its mastery of war. Gunships returned to the mothership in perfect formation. Dropships retracted their marines after ensuring every vital system of the Garvek vessels had been neutralized, and the Horizon Breaker itself glided through the void like a predator retreating after a kill, leaving the shattered remnants of the once mighty Garvek fleet behind. Fleet Commander Exila stared at the view screen, his mandibles clicking in disbelief. The Empire's finest vessels floated crippled, some drifting inert, others slowly attempting to power their shields, but all had been irrevocably humbled. Zyla's voice, usually sharp and commanding, was barely audible over the comms. We have underestimated them. Every plan, every tactic, every advantage meaningless. This species, they are perfection in combat. Across the galaxy, fleets in adjacent sectors intercepted fragmented transmissions and sensor readings. The sight of humans in combat spread like wildfire. The stories varied. A single human warship dismantling an entire fleet, Marines neutralizing dreadnoughts faster than the Garvek could react, gunships moving with seemingly impossible speed and coordination. Civilizations long skeptical of the legends of Earth and its inhabitants found themselves forced to reconsider. Humans were not myths, not anomalies, not lucky survivors. They were apex predators. Even as the humans disappeared into the void, the echoes of their presence remained. The Garvek fleet, though largely intact numerically, was broken in spirit. Commanders hesitated to issue orders. Crews were paralyzed by awe and fear, and the Empire's centuries-old sense of invincibility had been shattered. The lesson was indelible. Humanity was a species that could not be underestimated, and any confrontation with them would be measured not in odds or firepower, but in the impossible calculus of survival. Across other systems, military academies and scholars recorded the encounter with disbelief. Fleet officers studied the humans' maneuvers frame by frame, unable to fully replicate them, but desperate to learn from the display. Diplomats revised policies and treaties in anticipation of humanity's next move. Colonies told stories of the day humans went to war, not as propaganda, but as legend, a story to inspire both fear and respect. Captain Alethea Grayson's calm voice became a symbol of human authority, even in the void. We do not seek unnecessary conflict. We answer calls for aid and intervene when others cannot. Misjudging humanity comes at a cost. The message was simple, yet it reverberated across the galaxy. Humans were not merely survivors, they were masters of adaptation, combat, and strategy, capable of outthinking and outmaneuvering the greatest powers the stars had ever known. The Horizon Breaker's engines hummed softly as it slipped into faster-than-light travel, leaving behind a fleet that had tasted defeat at the hands of one ship, one captain, and a species that thrived where others would die. And in the silence that followed, the galaxy collectively shivered, understanding that humanity had arrived not to negotiate, not to plead, not to fear, but to assert a presence that no empire could ignore. Legends would grow. Songs would be sung. Children on distant worlds would dream of the day humans descended into battle like predators from the void. And for the Garvek and every other civilization that witnessed or heard the tale, a stark truth had been etched into history. Humans were not just capable of surviving the galaxy, they were capable of dominating it. The void, once silent, now echoed with awe. The humans had gone, but their presence remained eternal. One warship had changed the galaxy forever, and from that moment onward, every species would measure their strength not by fleets or weapons, but by their capacity to withstand the might of humanity. The legend of the Death Worlders had begun, and the galaxy, humbled and terrified, would never forget the day humans went to battle.